Hi, this is Kathy Goodwin, and today I want to talk about the difference between copywriting and editing. The reason I'm doing this is I get queries every so often from people who want me to edit rather than write their copy. So I thought I'd clarify what the differences are and the benefits of each. First, editing. Well, if you want me to edit or you want someone to edit, that means you have a first draft, or maybe it's your second or third or fourth draft. You've written it yourself. It's pretty good, and you know it could be better. So there are different kinds of editing. One type of editing is called copy editing, and that's pretty straightforward. That's the kind that you get if you're with, say, a newspaper editor who reads articles and makes the final check before they go to print. If you write a book for publication with a publisher, the way I did for my book on moving, they will have a copy editor go through line by line and check to be sure that your spelling, grammar, and punctuation are correct. They also, ideally, will check for things like readability and consistency. In other words, are the sentences so convoluted that people have to stop and think? We all write a sentence like that now and then. And do you have consistency? So, for example, if you have a heading that says 3 ways to change something or other, and you actually have 6 ways listed, a good copy editor will catch that discrepancy. Finally, spacing. A lot of times you can have paragraphs jammed together. A paragraph is too long. It's hard to read because things don't stand out. That's a spacing issue. And again, a good copy editor will check for that. Now, if you want copy editing, then I would recommend that you talk to someone from Craigslist or perhaps Fiverr.com or another copy editor. That usually doesn't call for a copywriter. We'll talk about what a copywriter does, and a copywriter can help edit for effectiveness rather than what we call copy editing. Editing for effectiveness is often called tweaking or jazzing up copy, and I get requests sometimes. Someone says, the copy of my site is okay, but could you jazz it up a little? Well, what that means is we actually have to review your strategy, because it's really important to know what you want to do and why you're doing it. We might change your headline, bullets, and ultimately reshape major portions of the copy. We also will style the writing for internet readers. Well, what does that mean? If you're writing for a tech audience, let's say you're a tech writer who decided you wanted to branch into copywriting, which is always very good to do, we want to modify your writing modify the content, because people read differently on the internet. They skim, they scan, they look at words differently. We would want to fine-tune your presentation and create a clearer call to action. That's one of the things that we do with this type of editing for effectiveness. And most important, we want to identify and promote features and benefits. A lot of times we might discover that you have a benefit hidden away somewhere that you haven't been really emphasizing, and that will make your copy and your whole sales letter, website, landing page, whatever, a lot stronger. Now, how do I do this? Well, as I said, for copy editing, I recommend that you hire perhaps someone from Craigslist or someone from Fiverr.com or another source. But if you'd like me to work with you on editing for effectiveness, there are several ways we can go. The most common ones are a video tutorial that's described in my website. And one of the ways we do that is you send me what you need, and I'll go through it and give you a 30-minute video critiquing, and not only critiquing, but also making suggestions. And I explain what I do. So it's a learning process for you. It means that the next time you write copy, it will be easier for you. You'll be, you can do more on your own. It's a learning process. It's also something you do yourself. So if you want to be in charge of your own copy, then I won't actually write for you, but I'll make suggestions. You'll be looking over my shoulder while I make notes, and then you work on your own. Now, DFY stands for Done For You Editing, and that means that I will go through and actually make the changes. So if you have an HTML page, I'll go into your HTML and change that. If you're working with WordPress, I'll get the code and we'll go in and change the pages. If you have if you want to work with autoresponders and you'd like me to edit those, then we'll do that in a text format. That's very easy to put onto your mail server, whatever system you're using. But those are two of the most popular ways to work with me on editing for effectiveness. Now let's look at copywriting. That means that we start with a blank page. In other words, you just tell me what you want and I do the writing. It's totally done for you. And the traditional definition of copywriting is writing to persuade, and it's still the key core of copywriting. Copywriting is really about marketing and creating relationships with your buyers and your prospects. We've moved from just straight promotion to relationship development, and that might include some elements of your blog and your information that you're sharing. So for instance, if you're producing a class, especially a short class that's going to be a lead into a later larger project, then you will be doing marketing even though you're presenting information at the same time. And it's really critical to present solid information, because otherwise people will get frustrated and say, oh, you're just trying to sell us something. When I write the copy for you, when you hire me, or hopefully another professional copywriter would do the same thing, we first review your target market and your USP, your unique selling proposition, and your value proposition. Some people separate the two. They're very similar, I'll put it that way, but not identical. We would look at your keywords and phrases that you're using to get more traffic. And what we ultimately do is translate your vision to your sales letter or your website. And we do many of the same things, of course, we do in editing for effectiveness. So we look at the features, the benefits, we look at the whole process. But the idea is that you just tell me your strategy, and we together review your strategy and work on how to translate your strategy into marketing materials. And then I do the work, and you go off and play or talk to your clients or other things. But I actually will do the writing for you. Editing is extremely effective in certain types of writing, such as blog posts. If you draft a blog post, someone can edit it for you. Ebooks are very effectively edited. A lot of times you can do a draft and then I could do it or someone else. One thing that's nice about doing ebooks with a copywriter to do editing for effectiveness is that when you go to write your sales letter for your ebook, it's really helpful if your chapter titles and subtitles are written more like headlines, because then the copy for the sales letter or the landing page practically writes itself. Training materials, same thing. If you have modules of training, if you give them really creative titles and you get in keywords and you create intrigue and curiosity in the titles of your modules, you'll have much more effective training, and you'll, even more important, have a really strong sales letter that happens almost automatically. So those are good places to work with someone on editing. When it comes to copywriting for websites, sales letters, and landing pages, I recommend working with a copywriter. A lot of times, unless you are studying copywriting yourself and you're taking a course, maybe you started learning and you want to get better, then of course it makes sense to have someone come in. And in that case, a tutorial by video would be really effective, because what you would do is get feedback and critiquing the way you would in a course, except it would be, of course, totally tailored to you. In a class, even the higher end copywriting classes, you won't get that kind of detailed feedback, detailed commentary and suggestions and really ideas to move forward that you would get with a copywriter who is editing for effectiveness. But ideally, if you are not a copywriter, if you don't want to be a copywriter, you haven't trained as a copywriter, and you're not interested in doing that, then it's best, I would recommend, to turn it over to a copywriter. I have worked with clients and with students many times in copywriting courses that I have taught, and those where I've served as a copy coach with another famous copywriter, someone who's a lot more famous than I am. And what I have found is, no matter who you work with when you're taking a course, people often say, I'm glad I took the course, but frankly, I wish I had invested the time and money in hiring someone. If you're advanced in your business and you're so busy with clients, you really do not have time to do this. I can do it faster because I do it all the time, and I can get results faster. Whereas if you are spending, say, 20 or 30 hours writing copy for your website, if you have a business and you're successful and you've got clients, it's going to take you probably 20 to 30 hours to write that website. That is time you could be much better spent with a client or with promotion that you cannot delegate, such as doing live networking, live speaking. And if you take the dollars, you compute the value you charge per hour and multiply that by 20 or 30 for a website, and maybe even more for a sales letter or a landing page, then you might find it's best to just turn the whole thing over to a copywriter. One question I get often is, okay, I want you to write the copy, but I'm really afraid it's not going to sound like me. And here's the truth. Your message is going to be more important than your exact style. One famous marketer has a theme and a message in all her work, which is anybody can do this. If I can do it, you can do it. That comes through whether she uses those words or similar words or different words. A lawyer that I wrote copy for, I wrote his whole website, in fact, and some subsequent follow-up materials, has a theme: I am passionate about helping my clients within the law. That comes through. It doesn't have to be his words. The message is what comes through. Think about being emotional rather than logical. You want your clients to respond emotionally to your message. Sometimes they will want to run numbers and work logically, but their first response is going to be emotional. And focus on your position rather than your personality. How do you relate to your clients? Are you an authority figure? So you're going to say, yes, this is what I do, and you're really the expert that people come to you for. And are you a buddy or girl next door? A lot of life coaches take that approach of being, I'm your friend, and it's perfectly valid and helpful approach. Or even some marketing coaches do this. It's like, hey, hey girlfriend, I'm like you, or hey dude, let's get it on. And that's the way, that's the style. Some people are celebrities. That's an increasingly popular style, where it's sort of writing as though, I know I'm famous, I'm famous. Hey, let's recognize that. So if you focus on the angle, your position that you're coming from, that's going to be really effective in whether you write the copy or someone else does. And the words, you're going to find people won't pick up on the words. They'll pick up on the tone, they'll pick up on the emotion, and they'll pick up on the position. If you'd like to get more help, here are some places to go. My website, kathygoodwinmarketing.com. Back to my website has a link to my services page that is pretty complete. I keep adding and changing services, but you could start there, or you could look it through and see if that makes sense to you, if what I have makes sense. I recommend starting with one of the specific smaller programs. Here are two that might work for you. budgeturl.com/copyfix means we look at your copy and we fix it. It's very fast. That's what it is. It's fixing your copy. And then the budgeturl.com/jump call is a more comprehensive look at your strategy and where you're going and what you'd like to do in terms of your long-term marketing solutions. So those are just a few ways you can start working with me. If you'd like to do something different, don't hesitate to get in touch. I'm delighted you joined me today. Thank you so much. I hope the rest of your day will be smooth and happy, and I will see you again on a future video, or possibly a one-to-one consultation or a major project. Thanks again.